all about art here on Big Blend Radio with Victoria Chick. She's an artist, a contemporary figurative artist based in Silver City, New Mexico, which is a beautiful art community and nature destination, Gila Wilderness area, the Gila Cliff Dwellings, there's mountains, there's snow from what I've seen online. But anyway, she's based out there, and she's got her studio, and sometimes you can go and visit her, depending if there's a studio tour happening. And she's also a collector of early 19th and 20th century prints. And since she knows so much about art, since that is a big part of her life, she's going to teach us how to take care of the art that we purchase, how to really hang it and showcase it in the right way. And you can go to her website, victoriachick.com. You can also read her articles and listen to past interviews. Just go to blendradioandtv.com, and you will see her in our expert department. Victoria, welcome back. How are you?
Well, thank you, Lisa. I'm great today. Got a nice sunny day here, and I've been taking advantage of it this morning.
Cool. Yeah, because we got snow out here just a couple days ago up in the mountains.
Yeah,
and
we had the same snowstorm.
That is so cool.
It didn't last long.
I know. It's just so cool to see snow, and I think it's so great to get. I mean, because it was getting kind of like there's no winter rains that the desert needs out here, and I think you guys were feeling that way in Silver City too.
Well, we were. We had kind of a freak rainstorm last week. We wound up with over 4.5 inches of rain at our place. And our neighbors had like 2.5, so it really dumped on us, which we were so happy about. But everybody around here got at least 1.5 inches, so that was, a real blessing to us. After what you say, it's just been so dry. We hadn't had rain since like September or something, so it was great.
Well, I'm glad. For all of us. We'll get some wildflowers. I know. So it's good to have sunshine. I know I'm going to go jogging. Not that I can do that, but anyway, for some reason I just feel like it's full of the joys of spring. So hanging art. I remember hanging out with you and Mike when we were on our tour and came to visit you in Silver City, and we made a nice video. It's up on YouTube. Everyone just type in Victoria Chick hanging art on YouTube or Vimeo, and you'll see it. And we'll also post it with her article up on blendradioandtv.com and in Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. But you showed us how to hang art. And, it was really interesting because you've got some giant paintings that take up almost the entire wall. And then all of a sudden you'll go around the corner and you've got one that will fit in the palm of your hand. So
That's right.
It's all about balance, right?
Well, yeah, except for that little one. That was kind of an experiment. But when we talk about hanging art, I hate to come across like there's all these rigid rules, and I'm going to come and wrap a ruler over your knuckles if you don't hang it the way I think you should hang it.
You mean Martha Stewart? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Because I don't feel like that. You sometimes have to push the limits if there's a certain way you want something to feel or something the way you're going to present it. It's really important to you, break the rules. But there are guidelines, and my video tries to show you how some of those guidelines work.
It does quite
the big
well.
painting that you mentioned, I've got two smaller ones, one on either side of it, and it's very formally balanced, so it's pretty equal. And in most cases, you're not going to try for perfect symmetry because you probably have artwork that is different sizes and it goes in places that are not all the same. So you have to kind of work around what you have from an architectural standpoint. I think in your home.
It's like making
a puzzle.
That,
yeah, it is kind of like putting a puzzle together, and you're in control of the pieces. That's the new thing. You're not working with somebody else's pieces. You've got your own puzzle. It's your idea, and it can be really, really rewarding. I think I know when I have a space, and I think, or when I have maybe I sell a painting, and now I've got a big space that's vacant, and I've got to put something in there that will complement the rest of the room. and
Hmm.
that you have to think about color, and in a way, you're your own designer because you're working with a lot of different elements, and so you try to use the color, and you try to find a size piece of artwork that goes in that spot well.
Hmm.
What do you think about like wallpaper?
Yeah, what do you
Like,
do if someone yeah.
yeah.
Wallpaper can be hard. I mean, it depends on what the pattern's like. It's an interesting question, because wallpaper isn't used as much as it used to be. But if you look at old homes, like turn of the century homes, or when wallpaper, even up to the 1950s, where wallpaper was a choice of what you do with the wall, and people would put paintings on it, and they seem to work out. But in those cases, the frame is really important because it gives you a separation between the wallpaper background and the subject matter of the painting itself.
I can see that where a nice big thick heavy frame would draw your eye and separate,
but people used a lot of gold frames too then.
Oh, maybe that's
and
why. There's more paintings now where you don't even need a frame, and the especially in canvas, it goes over the edge, so to speak, like infinity pools. Maybe wallpaper wouldn't be helpful.
No, I know it really wouldn't. Yeah, that would create a problem.
Well, and the frame part of it, that's something too to talk about, because isn't that kind of a personal thing when someone purchases a piece of art? Sometimes people want to buy it framed, but isn't it sometimes better to do it yourself and to not? You need to take care of the frame. Sometimes it's more expensive than the picture.
Well, that is true. There's some fabulous. I love to go to frame shops because the moldings can be really, really beautiful. You have to be careful. Your frame doesn't overpower your artwork. And sometimes framers tend to get carried away because they have all these skills in framing or matting, and the mats get kind of complicated with some framers where they're cutting designs in the mat itself, and then putting a frame on.
That. Yeah, and then it competes.
Yeah, it does compete, but once in a while it works. But I tend to avoid those. I kind of like plain mats instead.
I like things to be kind of simple too, and I think there's this. What's kind of interesting about frames and some of them getting really ornate is it takes you back to times where they used to make furniture like that, where they'd actually carve. Like you've got those chairs, and where people carve into it, and it's like, wow, this is real furniture. It's like the frames. It was part of a craft, and now it's like here's your plastic Walmart frames.
Well, again, the frame is meant to enhance the work. It's also meant to protect the work, and so a simple frame is okay because it can protect, and depending on what the subject matter is, a plain frame can enhance the artwork. So it doesn't necessarily have to be really costly or ornate.
What about those lights? You mentioned this in your article, as sometimes you go in and they have like a light hanging over, like they have their own lamps. It's like, here's your reading lamp for your art. And I always wonder about that because it's kind of like, I don't know if light is, like if it's in a museum, I don't know where there's a light shining directly on a painting, like an oil painting.
Yeah.
Is that bad for it?
Well, it would depend on the artwork. It wouldn't bother from an acrylic painting. It would, depending on how far away it is from the painting itself. It might be like 12 inches away, or 8 inches away, or 6 inches away. If it's too close, it might bother an oil painting. It might make that spot that it's hitting mostly directly crack sooner than it would otherwise. I personally don't like those kind of paintings. It's kind of an old-fashioned way of displaying art, and I think one reason it started up when electricity first came in, that somebody thought that would be a good idea to spotlight, a really nice painting in somebody's home, but it tends to make an uneven light on the painting.
Mhm.
And
that's what I thought it would do, because no matter what, there's a shadow cast. Like
it's kind of like they only want you to see one part of the painting, and they're hiding something.
I know, and then but what I've seen is those paintings, like the molding around it or the matting, turns yellow, and it's got the artist's name in there. Like when they first do it, it looks, oh, this is La Di Da, and the artist's name and the title and everything's in there. And then all of a sudden, it starts to look yellow, like it was left out in the sun. But it's true, like it's like flash photography done wrong, because it's like, here, you'll get a photo, and here's a big starburst in the middle of the photo, and then you'll get red eyes. Then you turn into the devil. No, but it's like, here's the yellow, the big, because it creates shadows. It really does.
Well, wherever you have light, you're going to have a shadow, right?
That's right.
It will be where the light spot is, but it's going to be somewhere else. Yeah. So it really isn't that helpful to the artwork, to anybody's artwork, and it can actually, especially if it's a work on paper, it can actually harm the work. So.
And I think
the other thing is
if
you have an artwork in a room where there's a uniform light, like from fluorescent fixtures. Fluorescent fixtures are killers on certain kinds of paint, like not so much oil paint and acrylic, but watercolors, or even things that have been printed out like reproductions are really. You go into restaurants and put that have been decorated for a few years, and all the artwork has turned sort of this blue color, and that's just totally almost due to fluorescent lighting.
The food doesn't look that good either under fluorescent lighting.
Yeah, and that's
you have a blue burger, in your picture, and it's not advertising.
Yeah, and that's food photography. It's also about it. That's an interesting thing, because we talk about wallpaper, but wall color and painting, it's the same as just on the food photography I've done for ads and things like that.
Yeah.
And people will go, put it on this. I'm like, no, man, that's going to make your eggs look green. It's Dr. Seuss Day, green eggs and ham.
Yes.
No, this is where it came
from. You remember I don't know if you remember, Lisa, in the 60s and 70s, and even into the early 80s, restaurants tended to be red and have red interiors.
Mhm. Diners, things like that.
And it was considered to be an atmosphere in which induced hunger in people.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be romantic.
I don't know how true that is.
It's in case you that was created by the mafia for when they had shootings in Italian restaurants.
Oh, nice.
Real nice. No, but now good one. Put that out there, Lisa. But the thing too, it's interesting about the color like that. Blue is supposed to be really good for food photography, but navy blue. So if you use a turquoise, now you're doing that green yellow undertone. It's the same thing as clothes, wearing the right color clothes for your skin tone. You have to. Are you a fall or a winter, or spring or summer?
Have you been color coding?
Yeah, color coding. But looking at hanging art on walls. Some people like to have. We just did a whole thing on weird homes in Austin, Texas, and
wow,
some of those weird homes, they really don't care about how they're hanging their art and what color their walls are. Like could you live in like a bright pink room, like with bunches of art everywhere around? Like, you know what I mean?
Not an inch.
Well, to each his own, and people will, people have preferences, and if they should have preferences. And they may not be yours or my preference, but you can see even in an odd situation, you can still work with certain guidelines and pull everything together. It's not impossible. It's probably harder.
Yeah,
it's probably harder.
It's very like. Yeah, I'm thinking about the Weird Home book and how much stuff was placed on a single wall.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but
I like
it's also kind of disturbing. And then there's the really ultra white wall, not a soft white or an actual or off white, that just like a Texaco bathroom white.
Well, you know, I've listened to I call it a lecture several years ago of someone who considered themselves to be an expert on hanging art, and it was really interesting. she said everything I wouldn't do.
Oh wow!
But she was sort of following the school. I mean, do you remember back in the early or the late 1800s, and when the French Academy was in the art power in France, and was right before the Impressionists, and then it continued on for a while after the Impressionists. But they would have competitions, and artists were invited to submit work, and so many types of artwork would get, thousands of pieces would get selected, and they had this big salon room that they would hang everything, and they would hang it from the floor to the ceiling, and the stuff that they considered the best they would hang at eye level, and the stuff that they that was lesser in their eyes would get higher and higher and higher. So it was really up by the ceiling, and it was hard to look at. But this was this lady's way of hanging art, because she collected a lot, and she just wanted to hang all of it at the same time, and so that was her solution, was just this kind of salon hanging. It doesn't do anything for the artwork. That's kind of why I don't like to do it. It's very busy. It's hard. It's almost overwhelming. It makes your room feel like the walls are going to cave in on you.
I know you can see people take a step back. Like even looking at the Weird Holmes book, and she turned the page, you sort of like, whoa, and you move back a little when you get to like a double page spread of just lots of cuckoo clocks on a wall. It's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, but the thing is, they're living in the house, they're happy with it, and so I would never never say anything. But for as far as it being a way to honor a particular piece that you've got, it's not going to do that. It's just going to be busy and just look chaotic.
Yeah, it is chaotic.
I think that
some of it's fun.
Well, that's everything. With you talk about balance. And I think that's the important thing with balance and color. But then there's a balance of where you're hanging it on your wall, and so where you position it, like how high or how low it goes, can't that also distort a painting?
Right. And the general rule of thumb is hang it at your eye level. Of course, if you've got a very short person in the house and a very tall person, you're going to have some conflict.
You each get a different room. Your room,
that would be the easiest way to resolve it, I think. You take that room and I'll take this one. But and most work will show that way very well. Sometimes you have a scene or something where you're actually looking down on, like say you're looking down on a table at a still life, or you're looking down in a canyon or something. So in those cases, you might want to hang it just a little bit lower.
Okay, because it depends on the piece. And so when you're looking,
somewhat.
I have to ask this because I know the answer, but I have to do it. So when you're purchasing art, so like say you buy a new house, right? And now you're moving and you've got some art. Do you go out to buy art for the room, or do you go and buy art just because you like the art and then you make it work in the new house?
Well, I hope you do the latter,
I
because,
have to do it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people that are not sensitive to visual art, and sometimes they think they've got to put something on there, but it's really an inconvenience. So, but I think I would like to see everybody buy a piece of art that really touches them in personally, and then they love the painting, and they'll find a way to hang it in the best place where they can enjoy it and get the most out of it. So, and if you've got a color schema, you probably, unless you're already dealing with a decorator who will choose for you, you're dealing with preferences anyway. So, like as not, the painting that you are attracted to will go with the furniture you're attracted to if you're picking everything out.
Your personality comes through.
Yeah. I mean, to me,
that's why people who have real eclectic houses, everything seems to work.
That's me, because it's about what you like and what you want to look at. And if a decorator says, "Well, this goes with your couch," and it and you're going to put it on your wall, and you don't like it, you're going to be miserable in your house. I mean, that can actually have an effect on you. They talk about like color in rooms, like how it can affect you, your psyche. But I think it's the same thing with art. And I think the cool thing is to move things around. That to me, it gives everything a fresh. I mean, to take one, move a painting into a different room, like just it gives it a different. Sometimes just the lighting is different, and that's something too. Where to put paintings? Are there places we need to be careful of? Like, what about if you have a real fireplace, not the one that cats don't. You know how cats do. I know you know cats. And if you do not have a real fireplace, I remember Athena at that one place. She got so mad at us because it wasn't a real fireplace.
She just flicked her tail and walked out of the room.
I know.
She looked so excited. Ooh, fireplace. Walked up to it, flicked her tail, and bye-bye.
Yeah, so...
not interested.
But
there are places that you should avoid with certain kinds of paintings. Over a fireplace is never a great spot to put a painting because, no matter how well your fireplace draws, a certain amount of soot and smoke is going to come out, and it may take you a few years for it to show up, but it will. And so I never think of that as being a great place. There are other things you could put over your fireplace. Some people have mantles. Not every fireplace does. But if you have a mantle, you could put stuff on that. You could put a piece of sculpture. You could put two-dimensional work is hard. I don't recommend it. But the other place that you want to avoid is in places too wet. It's not just heat. If you've got acrylic painting,
like the kitchen,
acrylic paint, you can put an acrylic painting in your bathroom, or around your kitchen, without having it hurt anything. If you put paperwork, that moisture will get in there. It makes kind of a mildew or mold, and they call that foxing, where you can see these kind of little brown starburst shapes that will get on the paper. So they not want to do that. And oil painting is hard because a lot of it depends on where you live, what the humidity is like in the area in which you live. Where you live and I live, it's so dry usually that you don't want to put anything like that in a damp area because there'll be this terrible contrast, like when the shower is on, and there's a lot of moisture in the air, and then you turn it off, and now it's going to get really dry. So there's this kind of stress on the wood that supports the canvas and on the canvas itself between shrinking and expanding. So in the long run, if you've got something that's really valuable, you do want to avoid that.
Everybody wants to avoid shrinkage. I just had to say that, but but anyway, it's a Seinfeld thing. But the reality, I know that from my guitars, and now there's a lot of artists painting on guitars.
Are successful. Yeah.
When we moved from Julian, from the mountains, started in the coast and went from the coast to the mountains to the desert.
That wasn't
That was a wake-up call to taking care of your guitars. I mean, I had to get it straightened, like the neck straightened on the one, the other one I had to do other things and a lot of restringing, but actually the wood, and I just didn't think, I didn't know. And it's the same kind of thing. Things move in temperatures. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people I know out here, a lot of musicians I know, they have their guitars in like a temperature controlled room or space, just so that they don't warp.
Pianos are sensitive too.
Mm-hmm.
So when we moved from in town, even here, even moving, like 6 miles out of town, we moved to a higher elevation, and that caused a change in the piano. So there's a lot of, people don't realize maybe who aren't musicians just how sensitive those instruments are.
I'm thinking now about all the musicians I know who paint guitars. That's I'm just no, there's a lot of musicians who paint them, and they're really cool. And now I'm wondering, like, how do they last? I mean,
well, they probably, they paint them because they didn't last.
I love it though.
Yeah.
They painted them, and they know to keep them in a temperature-controlled thing as much as possible.
Is there, for your prints? I mean, because I know yours are they're historic. I mean, early 19th, 20th century prints. I mean, the paper. Do you have to do special things to protect the paper that the prints are on? Especially like woodcuts and things too.
If I buy something old, I mean, a lot of it depends. In fact, that's an interesting question because this week I've got 3 new prints. One is a Peter Moran, and it was done around 1880, and it shows an Indian ceremony. But what they did at the time to frame it was they did a thing that they call laying it down, or it's a laid down print, which means basically is glued onto a backing. And at that time, the backing was cardboard. So that has had a very detrimental effect on the print. Yeah. Although I love the print. I love the history of it. I love the picture. So I bought it anyway. But now I've got I at the time I got it, it was framed. I didn't realize it was laid down. But now I've got to decide: is it worth it for me to reframe it because that backing is bonded to the backing, which is acid. I mean, I'm not going to be preserving it, whatever I do. Another one I got this week is a Peter Hurd lithograph, and it was framed probably around 1950. And with this, I'm looking at it right now, and it's got this most interesting mat on it, which looks like marble, kind of. But I'm going to have to have it rematted, because if I took it out of the frame, and the mat actually doesn't seem to have bothered it, but the light has bothered it, and so where the paper is exposed to the light, it's called toning, and it has a slightly brown shade to it.
Wow.
So one thing I could do is to put it under a low E glass when I reframe it. So anyway, there's all kinds of little things when you buy older work.
Yeah. But I mean, when you love something, it's what you love,
Right.
And sounds like you had a good week, Victoria.
Yeah, I did have a good week. Yeah. And then I bought another one.
It's a Victoria's Print Roadshow. The Antique Roadshow? That's Victoria's Print Roadshow. I love that.
So anyway, I bought a Wilbur Newall, too, which you probably haven't heard of. But he was the president of the Kansas City Art Institute when I lived in Kansas City, and I got a nice etching that he did, and it's perfectly framed.
Oh, she's happy about that too.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything.
Okay, one question I wanted to talk about with because I find this very interesting about how to hang art, because I mean it can change what you purchased, and could change that perspective of it, and I think it's always interesting how galleries do it. And but then when you look at a place like you've got a hallway, and it was really interesting how you were able to balance that out in a hallway and put art, because you still have to be able to see it and step back. So what are the rules of the hallway, the kids in the hall?
Yeah. that hallway where I have most of the stuff is a 4-foot wide hallway, which is a little bit wider than most hallways. But yeah, you don't want to put stuff in there that, I don't know, it just that everything's the same size and you just sort of march down the hallway. I can see sometimes doing that because you're trying to show a certain type of work and everything has the same frame, and but you probably that's probably more a museum way of doing things than it is a home situation, where because they're going to change their show maybe every couple months, so they're not stuck with it all the time. I think you'd get bored with it at home, so you kind of like to cluster things a little bit, break up the hallway, the sizes of artwork, and if you hang groupings, you want to make absolutely sure that all the frames are straight after you get it hung, and that's really hard to.
It is hard.
When you first put it up, it looks great, and then somebody walks by, and maybe they went a little fast, and there's a slight breeze, and something gets crooked. So you want to guard against that, and you do that by putting 2 hooks in the wall.
Yeah, don't do the one because
the one never works.
Get the right. I mean, we always our hooks are always on the larger side, because. You don't, and you do put them on either side, because don't fool yourself. Eventually, it will stretch and start hanging down, and it can. It just put the 2 and sometimes put 3 depending. And you don't want it to be at the point where you need to. I know my fingers know about this. You need to nail it all the way in, and don't tip. Don't be half-witted about your nail in the wall, because. That will also come out, and it'll make your painting tilt more. There's a balance of how to get 2 or 3. They all have to be level, and they have to be level in how far they go into the wall, so that your painting is level. It's just interesting to me, because this is when arguments start. When people start hanging artwork. To me, people are like, no, that's not straight. Yes, it is.
It is cool. If I always thought, you have.
Oh, you've been listening to Mike and I, I bet.
It's like, if one painting's a little bit off, everything looks wrong. So then you go and you straighten it, then you walk around again, and then somebody else goes and straightens it. And then I think, why don't we just put them all up crooked?
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I like going in. Yeah. When some people can't stand it if you unstraighten things, they can't stand it, and then it's fun.
Yeah.
We'll get in trouble just now. I wanted to bring up that Silver City Art Association has a spring studio tour. So if you're in the Southwest, definitely go to Silver City. It's a fun, beautiful, historic downtown, and they've got such cool history, like Billy the Kid and Madame Millie. So
right. Yes, we do have cool.
Yeah, you got good history.
Yes, it's coming up, and we're adding something this year. It's not just a tour, although that is fun. We're doing a tour on Saturday and Sunday, but Friday evening we're doing a spring into art, I guess we'll call it, gala downtown. We have a place on Broadway. We're going to do this. We've got food by the Duck Stop. We've got a bakery that's serving desserts. We've got a winery that's going to be there, and we're going to be projecting art. And we're also going to have a special art auction, which is we each of the artists on the tour has contributed an artwork worth way more than what the auction is going to be costing them, which is the auction is a $49.99 auction, and so everybody comes in and they have to buy a ticket to in order to bid, but they could put their ticket in the basket underneath the artwork that they're interested in, and before the evening is over, the basket, one ticket will be drawn out of each basket, and that person then gets to buy the artwork for $49.99.
Wow, well, that's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, the artwork will be worth way more than that, so it really is a bargain.
Wow,
and even the frames are usually more than that.
I think the studio tours are
and the
a
work
really
is
cool
framed,
thing.
yes.
The studio tours are such a nice way of learning about an area, and May is perfect. It's such a beautiful time of year in Silver City.
Yeah.
It's so green and lush, and there's birds, and It's just such a good time and a good way to get to know a region. But it's also one of those rare moments of being able to connect with an artist, because most artists don't want people hanging out in their like you don't want people watching you paint, right?
Well,
we've had this discussion.
I'm always happy to have company, because I like to talk. But art, to me, art is so much. There's so much thought involved, and so I may work on a painting for 8 hours a day, and probably the actual amount of time that I'm putting paint on the brush and moving it around the canvas might be 2 hours of that 8. So that's not too exciting for people to watch somebody else think.
Yeah, let's go watch Victoria think.
Yeah, most artists though they plan something though, right? They have like, I'm going to do this part of the painting and explain that part.
But I'm happy to explain. I'm happy to explain why I did it or what I'm thinking about doing. So, and some people are interested in that. But most people have. If you watch somebody creating a thing on a TV program or a video is like 20 minutes long, say, and they see somebody, finishing a painting in 20 minutes, that's all action. And so they may think that that's the way all artists work, and it's really not. But we've got some great people. We've got some people using welding and laser cutting and clay making. Anyway, there's every kind of art media that you could imagine involved in our studio tour.
We need to come back to Silver City. It's I love that because there's every part of It's
a beautiful
such
place.
a cool place. You live in a great place, and it's just amazing. You're so close to us here in Tucson, and you think like,
I know.
3.5 hours, and the whole terrain changes. And you are in New Mexico for sure once you get in there, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Tucson people go to Silver City during the summer.
Yes.
I don't know why.
I can't imagine.
It might be a little cooler. But
so everyone, May is a good time to get out there. And I was just looking at the page on this. You can go to silvercityart.com and keep up with that and go to one of the tours because there's one in October too. So this is a nice one to do in spring and get some art going. And then watch Victoria's video on how to hang your art.
That's right.
That's right. Some things you have to install. It's a different thing depending on what it is. But
right.
She's got your basics on that. But I've got some music for you, Victoria. I think I played this. No, this is not. This is safe. This is safe.
You can have a hard time living that one thing down. That one.
No, looking for an ugly woman. That song.
The last 2 months have been fabulous.
I think I'm duplicating one, but because of the weather we've had here between Tucson and Silver City, I want to bring the weather element in and then the art painting element. So I know I've played this before on the show, and May Edwards, I love to play her music, and everyone can go to mayedwards.com, and she did a 4 CD album plus a book, and she's writing cookbooks and everything on duality, and from saint to sinner kind of thing. Starlet to saint, but she's an incredible violinist, and she's a video editor. She's an Emmy Award-winning video editor, and we have her on our show every year or so, and it's just a blast. And she's just one of the most peaceful people I know. Just very, very, very creative. But they've got, speaking of videos, there's an awesome, so if you go to mayedwards.com and then go on their YouTube page, they've created this amazing video that goes with Clouds Alive in Wild Paint, which is a song I'm going to play. And it's safe. We won't play any more of the other style for you. So here it is, everyone, Clouds Alive in Wild Paint. But again, go to victoriachick.com to look at Victoria's art. And also go to silvercityart.com for the art tour of Silver City, New Mexico. And, of course, you can read Victoria's articles and listen to her interviews. Just go to blendradioandtv.com, and you'll see her in our expert department, or just type in Victoria in the search because she'll pop right up.
Yes, she will.
That's right, Victoria. Thanks so much.
That's me. Okay. Thank you, guys.
You take care. Here it is, everyone. Clouds Alive in Wild Paint.